Cathouse was the most popular nightclub at the time. So much fun and so full of drugs and partying and debauchery and music and celebrities and rock stars, and it was amazing.
Coming to you from the Cathouse South Studios in Race City, USA. This is episode 5 of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. This episode has got everything: girls, rock and roll, fights, and the origin of one of the biggest feuds in rock and roll: Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose, and Vince Neil. Yeah, maybe you've heard bits and pieces of the story, but did you ever hear exactly how it started from a person that was only 2 feet away? You will, because that person was me. You know, before the feud, things were good with Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses. As a matter of fact, Motley Crue took GnR out with them on tour. One night at the Cathouse, Guns N' Roses were playing, and Vince got up on stage to do a little duet with Axl. Have you ever heard a recording of that performance? Of course you haven't, but you will. Axl Rose, Vince Neil doing AC/DC. What about the story of maybe the biggest rock star in the world coming to the Cathouse? Tonight, we're going to also leave the club and visit the Hollywood Tropicana, a place that would never exist in today's society. I'm recording today's show on October 10th, 2023. It's actually 34 years ago to the date that I'm recording this show that Guns N' Roses played at the Cathouse, and part of that performance was used for the video that was eventually banned on MTV. The song, of course, It's So Easy. Really great song, great video, and you can catch the video on my Facebook page in its entirety. For much of 2023, I've been on tour with my one-man spoken word storytelling show called One Foot in the Gutter. Yes, I'm the guy that opened the Cathouse. I'm the guy that hosted Headbangers Ball. But listen to me. There's nothing I have ever done that has been as much fun as getting on stage in front of you and telling all these stories. I have got 3 shows that are coming up, and hopefully you're listening to this before the shows so you can come and join me. November 4th, I'm in Melbourne, Florida at the King Center of the Performing Arts. And November 5th, I'm in Daytona Beach at the Bank. January 6th, I am bringing One Foot in the Gutter back to Charlotte, North Carolina, where it all started. Tickets go on sale Friday the 13th for 13 hours. Tickets are going to be on sale for the Charlotte show for only $20. Just go to cathousehollywood.com. Like I said, cathousehollywood.com. Are you ready to come to the Cathouse with me? Let's get back to the Cathouse, okay? Let's get on our bikes, or maybe you're driving. Actually, you're probably going to be drinking tonight, so you could take a cab. Uber wouldn't have been conceived for another 20 years. You guys are looking good tonight. How much time did you spend thinking of what clothes that are laying on the floor are going to be tonight's attire? So we're going up to the Cathouse. Hey, you're VFI, which of course stands for very fucking important. Ignore the line in front of the club. You're with me, okay? Look, I've got 1 drink ticket only. Please don't come up later begging for more. This night at the Cathouse is a little unique because this evening, right next to me, outside of the DJ booth, an incident will lead to one of the greatest, or at least infamous, rock feuds: Axl Rose versus Vince Neil. Oh, it was real, and these guys wanted to rip each other's head off. It wasn't always like that between the two. A matter of fact, Vince and Axl even did a song together on stage at the Cathouse. Guess what? I found some of that rare audio, and you're going to hear it later on. When people tell stories about going to the Cathouse, many times they mention the bands that played, and obviously the music did play a vital part of the Cathouse scene. But as I've said before, it wasn't just the music that made this Hollywood club truly world famous. I have to state one obvious fact in this nightclub's success. Anybody that went to the Cathouse will agree. The Cathouse attracted so many beautiful women wearing the most provocative outfits to the point that it spawned a style called Cathouse chic that was written about in many high fashion industry magazines like Women's Wear Daily, Sportswear International, California Apparel News. It was DIY sexy, cool, very revealing, maybe a bit trashy, but in a fun way. To the uneducated, one might venture into this club and think the majority of those attending were models or strippers or porn stars, and yes, many of them might have been, but it went much deeper than that. There were women that were attorneys, teachers, they ran companies. They were the furthest thing anyone would confuse for a bimbo or a groupie. But at the Cathouse, it was playtime, lingerie, tiny tops, very short shorts, lots of skin. Inhibitions were left at the door. Some of these girls would hang out in little cliques. You had the psycho bitches, and the undisputed queens of the court were the broad squad. These girls didn't look like the women in rock videos. These girls were the women in rock videos. The broad squad was not made up of attorneys or teachers. These were women that worked at the Hollywood Tropicana.
Let me explain to you what the Hollywood Tropicana was. I know in this era we live in, we are all very sensitive. Today, when I look back at the Tropicana, as much as I did have fun there and may have dated some of the girls that worked there, I look back and think, yeah, that was pretty degrading, but it was the 80s, okay?
Guys would bid top dollar, and the winner would be the lucky one to get in the ring with one of these gorgeous women. The highest bidder would put on some cheap bathing suit that was supplied by the club and get in the ring and wrestle, usually in mud, but sometimes it was baby oil. Sometimes the girls would wrestle each other in front of the frat boy bachelor party, lonely old man perverts.
Mud wrestling.
There was also a smattering of rockers there, many of them watching their girlfriends work.
When I hear songs like Kiss, Lick It Up, or Whitesnake, Slide It In, it brings me back to memories of the Tropicana. I do admit that when we went to the Tropicana, we did have fun because it was loud and it was rock and roll. And you'd see like Motley, Crue, Rat, Van Halen. Damn, we all went to the Tropicana. This is also where we did most of our promoting for the Cathouse. I think the Tropicana girls were a big reason for the club's success. Tammy was really good getting girls to the club, by the way.
These women were ridiculously attractive, incredible bodies, mostly enhanced surgically, a lot. They were in swimsuit magazines, and a couple made the pages of magazines that didn't have swimsuits. There was Little Cindy and Lisa and Candy, Ginger, Keisha, Sabrina, and the ringleader Sharice. She was the typical California blonde. These girls were hot, and they knew it. One of the girls was Brandy Downs.
Cathouse was the most popular nightclub at the time. Guns N' Roses played there constantly, and this was before they were even famous. My girlfriends and I used to hang out there. We called ourselves the Broad Squad. We pretty much ruled that place.
It was true. Remember that Motley Crue song, Girls, Girls, Girls? Vince says in the song, Tropicana's where I lost my heart. In the video, there's this seductive blonde girl. That was Sharice, who, by the way, was married to Vince Neil.
One night, my girlfriend Sharice and I were in the DJ booth hanging out with Ricky and Izzy from Guns N' Roses, and Izzy proceeded to grab Sharice's boobs, knowing full well that she was married. And I freaked out on Ricky, and I said, you need to kick him out of here. And Ricky's like, he's a good friend of mine, and I can't kick him out because he's a guitar player for Guns N' Roses. And anyway, he didn't live that down, that's for sure.
This story has been told so many times, but the truth is there were only 4 people there. Izzy, me, Brandy, and Sharice. What I remember is pretty much the way Brandy said it happened. But we agreed through the years some parts got a little fuzzy.
I need to stop really quick. I needed to drink a little Cathouse coffee. Damn, that's fucking good coffee. I don't think I could use that as a slogan. It might be a good. It's Cathouse Coffee. What is Cathouse Coffee? I'm telling you, Leah Vendetta and I pick out special beans. We make sure that this coffee is total perfection. We bring it back to my office, we put the labels on, and we ship it out fresh to you. We've had this dark roast Cathouse Coffee for about a year and a half now, and it's doing really, really well. I'm not one of those pumpkin spice guys. I mean, I'm the furthest thing from it. But we were goofing around with a bunch of different blends and came up with this like pumpkin vanilla coffee. It's a medium roast, and the beans are from Colombia and Kenya. And this pumpkin, we call it P-U-N-K-N, pumpkin coffee. Holy crap, not only is it so delicious, I'm telling you, because it's medium roast, it's got more caffeine than our dark roast. It is highly caffeinated, it'll get you going, and it tastes really, really good. As a matter of fact, it's going to be your new favorite coffee. Try some for yourself. Go to cathousecoffee.com. That's cathousecoffee.com, and if you use the code CHP, that's CHP, you'll get 10% off your order. That's cathousecoffee.com, your new favorite coffee. It's late 1988. A stamp was less than a quarter. A movie ticket, $3.50. The inner city is getting introduced to a new drug called crack. You had Push It by Salt and Pepper. Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. You watched the movie Rain Man or Beetlejuice. Danzig released the album Danzig. Lita Ford released Lita. LA Guns released LA Guns. Winger released Winger. And a very innovative conceptual album was released called Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche. I love that album. I'm still not sure who Dr. X was or who killed Mary. Nike was telling everyone to just do it. Yeah, we did it. We did it big time. The Cathouse had been open for over 2 years, and it was doing really well. This was 2 years before I ever appeared on MTV. Guns N' Roses were pretty damn big in 1988. And even though the Cathouse was really a place that musicians wouldn't get harassed, the DJ booth was a place that we would hang out and hide out and talk to our DJ, Joseph Brooks. Izzy was always, believe it or not, a little bit of an introvert. So we were hanging out in the booth. In comes Brandy and Sharice. And Izzy, who at the time was pretty fucked up, saw Sharice. And, well, he just grabbed her boobs out of nowhere. I was shocked. Brandy and Sharice were as well. From what I recall, Sharice smacked Izzy. And Brandy, she just looked at me, expecting me to do well, something. I just stood there, bewildered. I didn't stand up for Sharice. I didn't tell Izzy that was wrong. I did nothing. And Brandy, I think she was more pissed at me than Sharice was at Izzy. This is where the stories vary, and to be fair, I did contact Sharice, and Sharice and I have always been on good terms, but when I told her I was doing the show, she didn't return any calls or texts. So Sharice smacks Izzy. That part I remember. Hey, I love the guy, but he deserved it. I read stories that said Izzy was trying to pick up on Sharice. No, I don't recall that either. What did happen was Sharice walked into the DJ booth with Brandy, and Izzy grabbed her boobs. And yes, that was wrong. I read an article that said Izzy got Sharice thrown out of the Cathouse. That's not true. The girls were pissed, and they left. That's how the whole thing started. Of course, word got to Vince Neil, and understandably, he was pissed. Although I don't believe the situation at the Cathouse went down the way Vince said it did in this MTV interview.
He kicked her in the stomach while she was pregnant. I was pissed. I said, next time I see the guy, I'm going to kick his ass.
Did Izzy, in fact, kick Sharice in the stomach? That's major enough that I would have remembered it. So I circled back to Brandy. I said, do you remember Izzy kicking Sharice? She said she vaguely remembered something. Either way, even though Izzy's my friend, grabbing Sharice's boobs was wrong. That concludes the Cathouse's involvement in the story. But of course, it didn't end there. Almost a year later, MTV has the Video Music Awards in Los Angeles. This is 1989. The MTV Video Music Awards, or VMAs, was always a party. I attended the 89 awards, even though I wouldn't be working for MTV for another 6 months or so. Andrew Dice Clay did a 3-minute set, which was chock full of profanity-laced nursery rhymes. MTV decided to ban Andrew Dice Clay for life. They lifted that ban in 2011. Madonna's Like a Prayer won the Viewer's Choice Award. MTV started a new category that year called Best Heavy Metal Video, and nominated for the award was Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine, Aerosmith Ragdoll, Def Leppard Pour Some Sugar on Me, and Metallica won. The presenters of the award were Motley Crue, and all the members were on stage to present it. I was watching from backstage thinking to myself, holy shit, Vince is up there. And if Guns N' Roses wins the award, the winner was Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine. You know Vince had to be going crazy reading Guns N' Roses. Only Steven and Duff went up to accept the award. Can you imagine what might have happened if Izzy had gone up to grab it? The MTV Video Music Awards always ended the show with a surprise performance. It usually was something that everybody would be talking about the next day. This year's show ended with Tom Petty on stage. He starts playing the song Free Falling. Wait, there's Izzy Stradlin playing with Tom Petty. Hold on a second. Here comes Axl Rose skating his way on stage. Axl starts singing, and when that lyric comes in, I'm a bad boy because I don't even miss her. It was sung by Axl, and it was pretty damn amazing. The song was flawless, with Axl and Petty taking turns singing. Watch it online, you'll agree. After the show, Vince is looking for Izzy. I was not there, but here's how Vince Neil told the story after it all went down.
I went up to Izzy. Said, "As you touch my wife again, I'll kill you." And he's all, you, and I knocked him out.
For me to comment on this makes me just like the other hacks. I was not there. I've heard so many versions, but most stories have Vince confronting Izzy and hitting him. How hard? I don't know. Did he cold cock him, or was it a straight shot in front of Izzy? I'm not sure. I do know that a few minutes after, Axl caught wind of it, and he was pissed. He wanted a piece of Vince Neil. The two got into a verbal exchange that was broken up backstage, and it ended with each of them going their separate ways. But it was far from over. For months, words were tossed back and forth. Axl told me several times he really wanted Vince Neil. At the Cathouse, this put a strain on things because it was Guns N' Roses' club. But I got along with Nikki Sixx, and occasionally Nikki would come by the club, but I think all the members of both bands knew this was really a Vince Axl thing. Months later, maybe even a year later, Axl Rose sat down with Kurt Loder for an MTV interview, and Kurt asked about the Vince situation.
I've read in the interviews of theirs that they feel this like I'm just, standing up for Izzy and stuff, but Vince should be careful what golf courses he's mouthing off about Axl on and who he's playing golf with. When he goes out playing golf, mouths off about Axl, and he happens to be playing golf with people that work for me, stories come back. He likes to put in magazines that he broke Izzy's nose, or I don't know. We didn't want to take it to court because it would be too much trouble and too much hassle, but when, Tom Petty's security crew wants to be witnesses in court, it's funny because Izzy's like going, because people think it's going to happen sooner or later or whatever, and it's like that Vince and I'll get into it or something, and Izzy laughs because he's like, that guy, had a full-on free shot and hit like a powder puff, and he was like, so it's like, it's pretty scary if the guy thinks about a real hassle. I put in a magazine, anytime he wants it anywhere, Atlantic City, I don't care. We'll put money on it, I don't care, and then he tried to turn it around and say the same thing, but, the invitation's there. I'm easy to find. If you really want to hassle, we can have it out.
That was an interview Axl did with Kurt Loder, which of course led to a rebuttal from Vince Neil.
He said a lot of bad things about me the last few years, and a lot of threats. Said, well, anytime, any place, and right now, I want to put an end to this, And what I want is, Axl, if you're watching this, I want to challenge you to a fight. I'm going to give you the time, and I'm going to give you the place, and there's no backing out now, buddy, and it's time to put up or shut up. I'd like to do it at an arena where people can come and see. I'd like to have it televised. I want the whole world to see this fight. It's going to be. I think it'll be great. I'm really psyched for it because I need to put an end to this. So there's no more. I mean, it'll end it once and for all. Any bad blood between us. So let's do it.
This stuff had been going on for years now. Even boxing promoter Don King wanted a piece of it. How serious were the guys? Oh, it was no publicity stunt. Axl Rose is a very intense individual. He really wanted it to go down. I think they both did. I remember Axl telling me he had found an island where the two could have a fight to the death. I'm serious. Axl said he didn't want any press about it. And I even heard that Guns N' Roses manager at the time, Doug Goldstein, passed that message to Motley Crue's manager. We never heard anything else about it after that. So all of this started at the Cathouse by the DJ booth. Let's bring it back to the Cathouse because we've drifted for a while. At one point, these bands were cool. You know, Motley Crue had Guns N' Roses as their opening act. There was the night at the Cathouse, Guns N' Roses were playing. And for the last song, as they sometimes did, Guns N' Roses would play AC/DC's Whole Lotta Rosie. This time, joining Axl on stage, Vince Neil. I'm going to play that. But first, I want to share something that happened, not in the 80s or 90s or whatever you call the 20s. This was something that happened 2 weeks ago. As I've been drilling into your skull, I've been doing these shows 1 foot in the gutter, which is me going up and telling stories and showing photos and videos and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And I've got 3 big shows coming up, and I'll tell you about that later in the show. 1 foot in the gutter is basically me on stage telling stories. It is spoken word. In my opinion, the best in spoken word is Henry Rollins. He was a great solo artist, former singer of Black Flag, but he has been doing this spoken word thing, selling out, touring all over the world for a very long time. I would say, as a person that is trying to get into the spoken word storytelling market, I definitely look up to Henry Rollins because I believe that he is the best. And he has a show coming up in Asheville, North Carolina tonight. And I'm really excited about this because my wife bought me 2 tickets and then she surprised me by buying 2 meet and greets. In case you didn't know, meet and greets are the experiences where fans get to interact sort of with the bands or artists. A lot of bands do it. You know, sometimes you take photos, get autographs, and it varies in prices and with bands. Bands like Kiss, Motley Crue, Aerosmith charge thousands of dollars for a meet and greet. And sometimes all you get is a photo and you stand in front of the artists. I've heard stories of bands treating these fans like cattle and just rushing them in. The artists don't even make eye contact. I've also heard some really good stories about bands being able to meet the artists that they look up to. These are called meet and greets. I do them on my show, but I don't call them meet and greets. I call them VFIs. And I'll talk about that another time. So Henry Rollins has a meet and greet. He lets you take a picture with him. You get to write a question that will be asked in the Q&A. And then I think he also gets like a signed laminate, whatever. I've never done a meet and greet as a fan. And when I go see Henry Rollins, I am a fan. We bought tickets. Leah bought me the meet and greet. I'm actually a little bit nervous, but it's going to be cool because I'll be in the fans' perspective of this. I put on Facebook that I had never met Henry Rollins. So that's another reason this show is going to be so cool for me. I've never met him. Then one of you on Facebook, I think his name was Mark, posted an episode of Headbangers Ball with me sitting down interviewing Henry Rollins. I feel like such an ass, but I guess it would have been worse if I said, nice to meet you. My name's Ricky Rackman. I don't think we've ever met. And then he would say, like, what are you talking about? I was on Headbangers Ball with you. Like, that would have been even worse. But I have no idea if he's going to know who I am or not. But I'm doing the VIP experience. I'm very excited to watch the master at spoken word perform. And I'm a little bit nervous, and I'll talk about that in the next podcast. I want to know your experiences with meet and greets, good ones or bad ones. Call this number, 213-347-9958. That's 213-347-9958. I'll also leave it in the show notes so you can find the number there if you're driving and you can't write it down right now. You can ask me any other questions too. Let's go back to Brandy for a second, who we heard from earlier. She recalled the time I had her help me out at the front door.
I was taking tickets at the front, and this tall guy with dirty blonde hair, long dirty blonde hair, walked right past me, said hi, it was very nice, walked past me and started going up the stairs into the club. And I was like, oh, I need your ticket. And I see Ricky come out and fly out of nowhere and said in my ear, that's Robert Plant. He doesn't need a ticket. I was so embarrassed. Robert Plant was very nice about it, though. He was like, no problem, no problem. But I felt bad that I didn't notice who he was.
I remember Robert Plant at the upstairs bar. I'm pretty sure he grabbed a girl and left. With all of the drama between Vince and Axl, we sometimes forget just a few months before the whole Sharice Izzy thing, everybody was on great terms together. Motley Crue was the biggest rock band, and Guns N' Roses were on their way to dethrone them, but Motley still took Guns N' Roses on tour with him. Even when Guns N' Roses were playing not arenas but coliseums with the Rolling Stones, they would still do shows at the Cathouse. One particular evening, they ended the show with AC/DC's Whole Lotta Rosie, but this time they brought Vince Neil on stage. I'm going to play some of that for you. And yes, the audio is really, really bad. At the starting of the song, you can hear Axl dedicate the song to Joseph, who was the Cathouse DJ and a big part of Guns N' Roses getting signed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vince Neil.
I know the quality isn't so great. And the worst part about that show is I don't even remember it. Here's something that I didn't tell you about. This is so bitchin'. I'm talking about Spooky Empire, October 27th, 28th, 29th. I'll have a booth at the Spooky Empire in Orlando. But I'm also, and this is like a big, huge horror convention. I'm hosting Q&As with Zetro from Exodus, Chuck Billy from Testament, Snake and Rachel from Skid Row. You ready? The cast of Hellraiser. Yeah, Doug Bradley, who was Pinhead. The great Bill Moseley, who said the greatest line in cinema, lick my plate, you dog dick. Oh, I've got much more. I'm doing a Q&A with big sexy Kevin Nash. Who would be the most iconic character in horror today? It would have to be Freddy Krueger, right? I am going to be hosting a Q&A with Robert Englund. Oh, yeah, and the other person I'm hosting a Q&A with is Kiefer Sutherland. Damn, that is so rad. I get to do that stuff. Like, I'm a fan of all those people, but to think that I get to go on stage and talk to them in front of an audience, that's going to be great. So immediately leaving the Spooky Empire, I get on the Headbangers boat, which is a cruise that's got like Lamb of God, GnR, Mastodon, Testament, Hatebreed, Shadows Fall, Municipal Waste, and more. I'm also going to be doing a version of One Foot in the Gutter called One Foot in the Galley. That's going to be fun. The boat docks November 4th. It leaves Halloween, then it comes back November 4th. And as soon as I get off the boat, I drive to Melbourne, Florida. I've got a show at the King's Center. And then the next night in Daytona Beach at the Bank. And yes, you can get all the tickets to all of my upcoming shows, which are only 3. Plus, you can get Headbangers Ball shirts and Cathouse coffee. And I've got signed Headbangers Ball hats. You can get all that stuff at cathousehollywood.com. That's cathousehollywood.com. I hope you had fun. I know I did. They just turned on the lights in the bar. You know that sucks. And we get to see how everybody really looks when it's not dark. But that's okay. It's really, really late. Maybe let's go get some mozzarella sticks at Rock and Roll Denny's. Then we'll call it a night. But hey, the Raunch and Roll always continues at the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. I'm Ricky Rackman. Remember to keep one foot in the gutter, one fist in the goal.